This is music, and this is a kinky episode of First Impressions. Welcome to another First Impressions video. In these videos, I share with you my first impressions of the many blind buys I've picked up over the last couple of years. This time I have a handful of CDs to talk about, so let's get down to business. Up first, we have a bit of an obscure release, I think, Intera's Betrayal Against Time. Very undergroundy stuff. I actually don't know how many copies there are out there. It's some kind of thrash metal. I think that's fair enough to say. In places, it's quite technical, actually. But at the same time, the production is quite raw. And the performance is also quite raw. With some imperfections and stuff. And that just adds a lot of authenticity. And I quite like the contrast between the somewhat technical music and the more undergroundy production. That's pretty cool. Musically, it's pretty damn good. You got some nice riffs. The songs are very well composed. The performance, like I said, has its imperfections, but that's fine. Great stuff musically. The vocals are a bit of a weak spot, though, I think. They're not terrible or anything, but it's not what they do best. Let's just put it like that. That's doing slightly technical thrash metal. In the song, The War Goes On, they even try to do some death growls, and that doesn't work, at least not for me. But apart from that, this is a very interesting, very solid underground thrash metal release. I quite enjoyed it. So there you go. I don't know how many copies there are, like I said, but if you come across a copy of it and it's not too expensive, it doesn't hurt to pick it up. Up next, we have Psychos Are Us by Knox. This is a dive bomb release, so you might expect it to be some thrash metal, maybe even some death thrash, or some crossover, or some power thrash, maybe some US power metal, or maybe some just straight up heavy metal, because those are the genres that I at least normally associate with dive bomb records. But as the hype sticker says, this is hard rock. And I expected this to be pretty enjoyable, but I didn't expect it to be this good, because this is great. You got some really heavy parts every now and then. You do have some ballads, and for the most part they're not bad. You got some really nice kind of groovy, maybe southern rock inspired things, some blues inspired things as well. Really awesome guitar tone. The vocals are kind of almost like bratty in a way, and the first couple of songs are really great and really heavy in places too. And I will say, I think this is on par with Appetite for Destruction. There's some songs I think that are better than anything on Appetite for Destruction. Then, of course, there's some songs on Appetite for Destruction that are better than anything on here. So probably on par with it. I don't know if you will agree, but I enjoy this just as much as a hard rock classic like that. You have some bonus tracks on here too. It's like demo material. One of them is Pushin', which is also on the main album. And they're not as good, I think, as the main album, but they're still interesting. So, I mean, you might not agree with my take on this being on par with Appetite for Destruction, but if you like hard rock, do check this out. This deserves much more attention. It's awesome. Here's another awesome album, Hellripper's Warlock's Grim and Withered Hags. Finally, I got around to listening to this. I think this is fantastic. I really understand why people in the VC love Hellripper so much, and why they love this album. It starts out with just a super fast song with some insanely fast picking, and then it's actually quite balanced in terms of fast and kind of mid-tempo parts, I think. Super solid. More melody than you might expect. More melody than I expected for sure. And a lot of elements from what I consider to just be straight up heavy metal. Uh, Hellripper is typically described as blackened speed metal or something like that. The vocals are blackened, but that's pretty much the only blackened thing to my ears. The music to me sounds like straight up speed metal, I would say. Although they don't sound at all like Agent Steel, it's kind of in that vein, I think, like speed metal and traditional heavy metal. The vocals are, of course, completely different. This is great stuff. I really enjoyed listening to this. This is going to get a lot of spins in the future. So is this, of course. So that one is great too. And the next one is kind of a cheat because it's technically not a first impression. Kinky Boot Beasts, Insect, Psycho, Tango. I have heard this one before, but last time I listened to this was probably back in the mid-90s. And I bought this one a couple of months ago, I think now, and finally got around to listening to it. And I gotta say, it's much better than I expected. It's not a masterpiece or anything like that, but it's a good reminder that the 90s alternative rock and funk metal scene didn't suck only, if you know what I mean. Actually, I gotta be honest, I know that it's kind of popular in the certain corners of the metal community within the vinyl community to hate 90s hard rock and alternative hard rock and funk metal and all that stuff from the 90s, and that's fine. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but I've always liked the funk metal part of it, I gotta be honest, and I've liked some of the alternative rock part too. When it gets too grungy, I kind of zone out, but this is funk metal meets 90s alternative hard rock. So you got your slapping and popping bass in a lot of the songs. You got your groovy riffs. You also have some heavy straight up hard rock stuff like Spinning the Globe. That's just a hard rocking song. You have What You Gonna Do About It. You got You. They're more like of the funky variety. You got You Can Call Me, which is more of a grunge adjacent perhaps song. That was a minor hit too. And the vocals are really smooth, probably inspired by Mike Patton in like, was it From Out of Nowhere, that song, that style of singing. Great stuff. If you like your 90s rock, check this one out. It's better than I remember it being, so I really liked this. And up last, we got St. Elmo's Fire, Evil Never Dies. This is great too. This is straight up heavy metal with a strong foundation in hard rock. You got a really nice crunchy guitar tone, some great riffs, both the hard rock kind of style riffs and the more like heavy metal crunch riffs. Really good stuff. You have some bonus tracks on as well, which are like kind of like alternative versions of some of the songs on the album. They're interesting too. So yeah, very, very enjoyable heavy metal. What I really enjoyed about this and what took me by surprise is that you got sprinkled throughout the album just tiny bursts of thrash metal every now and then. I didn't see that coming. I really enjoyed that. And they start out the songs being really heavy, and then you got like some variation in terms of heaviness, but I didn't expect it to be as heavy in places as it is. Great stuff. St. Elmo's Fire, Evil Never Dies. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I think this is a handful of really awesome stuff. The Intera one, the vocals were a bit of a tiny problem to me for sure. But other than that, I enjoyed that as well. So if you think any of these sounds like something you want to check out, please go ahead and check it out. I like them all. Thanks for watching.